Welcome back to the deep dive. So, our source material today, it lands on a very specific moment.
Hmm.
A moment that I think anyone pursuing a really big goal knows intimately. We're talking about day 350 of a year-long project.
Oh, it's a tough spot. It's not the beginning and it's not the end.
Exactly. Not the exciting start and definitely not the relieved finish.
It is the brutal middle. It's where all the momentum is gone and it's just pure friction.
Yes, the novelty is completely worn off, and our mission today is to really uncover the architecture of how you sustain excellence through that grind.
How you build that resilience to emerge truly transformed.
And for this, we've pulled together a really powerful stack of sources. We've got wisdom from Jim Rohn, the discipline of writer Stephen Pressfield, even a principle from Galileo.
And the startup story of Airbnb. And they all seem to point to one, let's be honest, pretty uncomfortable truth.
Which is that genuine growth lives precisely where your comfort dies.
We're just wired for the comfort zone. It's biological. But these sources all argue that comfort is a guarantee of stagnation.
So we're analyzing this choice, right, between the path of least resistance and what we're calling the path of rigor.
Exactly. And the goal here is to help you stop just talking about growth, the grand intention, and start actually creating the conditions for transformation to emerge from within you.
Okay, let's get into it then. Let's start with that strategic choice. Jim Rohn gives us this potent warning.
It's about the company we keep, but it's deeper than that.
He says, don't join an easy crowd. You will not grow. Go where the expectations and the demands to perform are high.
What's so fascinating there is that the easy crowd, they're not necessarily bad people. He's describing them as a kind of gravitational sinkhole.
A sinkhole, yeah. It just slowly pulls you down.
Right. It's that siren song whispering, good enough is good enough. The paradox is absolute. The easy crowd promises comfort, but it delivers stagnation.
And the demanding path promises difficulty, but delivers transformation. But, I mean, that just sounds exhausting. How do you tell the difference between strategic difficulty and just, burnout?
That is the crucial distinction. Strategic difficulty is something you choose. It's intentional pressure designed to create clarity, not just pain to punish yourself.
Okay, so it's a tool.
Exactly. And we see this perfectly in the early days of Airbnb.
Right, they hit that crisis point. The logical choice, the easy crowd choice, would have been to pivot or quit. The market just wasn't there.
But instead, they made this huge strategic gamble at SXSW in Austin.
And that decision was, as you put it, engineering pressure.
Completely. They chose the SXSW attendees as their smallest viable audience, not because they were easy converts.
No, because they were the most demanding.
The most demanding. Tech-savvy, adventurous, status-conscious. These were people who would be absolutely ruthless if the experience had a single flaw.
So they weren't looking for pats on the back. They were actively seeking criticism.
They needed it. They needed that pressure to reveal what actually worked. And this whole idea connects perfectly to a piece of ancient wisdom from Galileo.
Galileo Galilei. He said, you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. Yeah. That's a profound connection. So if the easy crowd is about teaching or imposing excellence from the outside, how did Airbnb's strategy help people find something within themselves?
Well, the easy path tries to, install trust-like software.
Yeah.
Mandate 5-star reviews, write a policy.
Right, top down.
But the path of rigor, Airbnb's path, is about creating the conditions for potential to crystallize. When they went to Austin, they weren't teaching people how to use a website.
No.
They were creating the conditions for travelers and hosts to discover their own willingness to trust a stranger, their own desire for real connection.
The courage to try something completely different.
Precisely. They just focused on removing the obstacles. Better photos, verified profiles, amazing customer service. All of that made the discovery of that inner trust safe enough to experiment with.
So it's more humble, in a way. It assumes the potential is already there.
It has to be. Excellence must be discovered, not delivered.
Yeah.
Your job is just to create the pressure that forces it to emerge.
Okay, and that internal discovery it requires a ton of work, especially when you hit that day 350 fatigue.
And that brings us straight to the writer Stephen Pressfield and what he calls the compound interest of obsessive study.
If excellence has to be discovered, this is the shovel you use.
That's a good way to put it.
His confession about this is so visceral. He reads his favorite books 10 times, underlines them, scrawls notes. He says he mangles the pages so badly I can barely close the covers.
And he watches films like Seven Samurai so many times he can quote different subtitle translations.
This is not passive consumption.
Not at all. This is a relentless excavation of mastery. The easy crowd reads a book once, skims a summary, and thinks, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Pressfield shows that the first read is for content, the 10th read is for structure. It's knowing how the storyteller engineered the experience.
Okay, so let's make this practical. If you're not a writer, if you're in, say, finance or engineering, what does mangling the pages look like?
It looks like running the same complex model 10 times, not just once, to see how tiny changes in assumptions affect the outcome. It's taking a piece of code that works and rewriting it, not to fix it, but just to understand its architecture better than the person who first wrote it.
So pushing past it works to, I understand why it works on a fundamental level.
Exactly. And that intense repetitive action is the only foundation that lasts. Gray Cook makes the athletic parallel here.
Right, he says physical prowess must be built on repetitive, unglamorous, fundamental work.
Those repetitions, whether it's rereading Tolstoy or practicing a coding algorithm for the 10,000th time, they don't install a new skill. They remove the layers of obstruction.
So the potential that was already there can finally emerge.
Yes.
Yeah.
On day 350, when your enthusiasm is totally gone, the only thing that pulls you through is the compound interest of that unglamorous work. Pressfield's advice is simple.
Keep working.
Just keep working.
But before we can just keep doing the work, the sources say there are prerequisites. William Arthur Ward lays out a very strict sequence that starts. Well, it starts with stillness, not action.
And this sequence is the perfect recipe for avoiding the noise of the easy crowd. It begins with the most counterintuitive step for our world today. We must be silent before we can listen.
That is so critical. The easy crowd never stops talking about their plans, their potential, their excuses.
And that noise makes true learning impossible. Silence is humility. It's admitting, I don't know everything yet.
You have to silence your own assumptions, your internal chatter, before you can actually hear what the world or your customer, like that SXSW crowd, is telling you.
Silence creates receptivity, which of course leads to the next step.
We must listen before we can learn, because consuming information isn't learning. Learning only happens when you've truly listened to the feedback.
And then we must learn before we can prepare. Preparation without deep knowledge is just theater. It's a performance.
It's all surface, no substance.
Right. True preparation comes from that deep Pressfield level learning.
Which brings us to the action, because preparation that never leads to service is just a form of procrastination. Jacques-Joseph Duguay really cuts through it all here.
Oh, he does. The smallest good deed is better than the grandest good intention.
And we live in an age that is just drunk on potential.
Completely. We confuse vision boards with actual building. The easy crowd suffers from what one book calls the disease of excusitis.
Excusitis. Okay, so what's the litmus test? How do you know if you're suffering from it versus facing a real barrier?
A real barrier is external and verifiable. A hurricane, a legal blockade, your funding gets pulled. Excusitis is always an internal justification disguised as an external barrier.
Like, I don't have enough time, or I'm not experienced enough, or I'm just waiting for inspiration.
Right. And the magic of thinking big nails this. Successful people make very few excuses. Unsuccessful people make a lot. And it gets worse over time.
Because the more you repeat the lie to yourself, the more you start to believe it's true.
It becomes your reality. Excusitis is the fortress the easy crowd builds to protect themselves from the vulnerability of actually trying.
While the demanding path just acts, Airbnb didn't do a market study. They went to Austin and started knocking on doors. That was the small deed.
And that deed completes Ward's sequence. We must prepare before we can serve. We must serve before we can lead.
Leadership isn't a title you chase. It's a consequence.
It's the natural result of excellent service delivered at scale, just like it was for Airbnb.
And if you want to know what level of service is required, we have to turn to the gold standard, Steve Martin's famous directive.
Be so good they can't ignore you.
That quote is a masterclass in leverage, isn't it? Because of what it leaves out.
Exactly. He doesn't say be so lucky, be so charismatic, know the right people.
He focuses only on skill, on excellence. That's the only real currency you have.
But wait, doesn't that ignore the reality of networking? I mean, you can be excellent and still get nowhere if you don't know anyone.
I think the point is that networking only truly works if you have the excellence to back it up. Nobody wants to connect you with someone who is easy to ignore.
So excellence is the prerequisite for the leverage that networking gives you.
Right. It demolishes the entire excuse economy. You can't network your way to being unignorable. You actually have to do the work.
And this brings us back to the purpose of it all. It connects full circle to that great John Lennon quote about school.
When I went to school, they asked what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They said I didn't understand the assignment.
And I said, you don't understand life.
The comfort zone chases titles and status. But Lenin understood that being precedes doing. Happiness emerges from aligning who you are with how you live.
And that alignment only comes from growth, from mastery, from service.
Okay, so if this demanding pursuit of excellence sounds utterly draining, especially on day 350, the sources give us a final, powerful philosophy for persistence.
Life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It is about learning to dance in the rain.
This is so critical for anyone in that long, brutal middle.
The path of rigor accepts that the storms, self-doubt, market trouble, fatigue, they aren't interruptions to the journey. They are the journey.
The comfort zone just waits for perfect weather,
And by the time the weather is perfect, the opportunity is gone.
which forces you to confront this fundamental choice from the magic of thinking big. It's the choice to wear out versus rust out.
You have to resolve to live until you die.
So many people choose preservation, safety. They end up rusting out with all this unused potential.
They endure 300 days of just existing
Hmm.
to enjoy 65 days of perceived freedom.
While the choice on the path of rigor is to wear out through total engagement, like Pressfield's mangled books or an athlete's aching joints.
Wear out is use. Rust out is neglect. And that full engagement, it's actually easier in the long run.
How so?
Stagnation is harder. A life half-lived is so much harder. You're trading short-term comfort for long-term fulfillment. The path of rigor ensures you are living all 365 days, not just waiting for the next vacation.
And if we wear out in pursuit of something that matters, what's left? Duguay has this final meditation on legacy,
In order to be remembered, leave nothing behind but love.
which here he means as impact.
Yes, impact. It's the residue left behind from full engagement. The lives you change, the problems you solve so well that the solution multiplies. That's the effect you leave behind when you're so good they can't ignore you.
So on day 350, the message from this deep dive is, it's crystal clear. Excellence isn't taught, it's discovered internally.
Through the intentional crucible of high expectations and relentless, unglamorous work.
The choice is yours. The path of least resistance, which promises comfort but delivers rest.
Or the path of rigor, which promises difficulty but delivers true transformation. The storm doesn't pass. You just become the kind of person who knows how to dance.
So ask yourself today, as you face your own day 350 fatigue, what small, difficult deed will you commit to that is better than your grandest good intention? Find that answer and then
Keep working.